Nini, everyone. Mary here again. Uh, Merry Christmas, Happy Yule, Happy Holidays. New Year's is in a few days. I celebrate the Feast of Victory on New Year's Eve. So if you celebrate any of those holidays at this current point in time, then happy whatever, happy holidays. But I've been trying to get back into this, and it's been hard. But um, I want to get back into different subjects involving Comedicism. And if anybody's interested in any other kinds of subjects, like not recently, but for about the past year, I've been more involved in like anti social justice warrior kind of thing. Not necessarily anti social justice, but the idea that people who are of the mainstream, like male or cisgendered or white or things like that, are inherently bad. So um, I would take a more egalitarian approach to social justice, where it's not necessarily putting obstacles in place of people who are white or male or anything other than the sort because they're privileged, but rather I want to remove the obstacles in front of people who are historically disadvantaged. So, if you're interested in that sort of thing, there's a lot of people who are involved in that kind of thing on YouTube, like Sargon of Akkad. He's one of my favorite dudes. Or Bering, he's Australian, and he's another one I've been following quite recently. So if you want to see more things like that, be my guest, let me know, because I will make videos. Um, and it's nice too because I'm a female, and you don't see a whole lot of you see a lot of white cisgendered men arguing about this thing, but you don't see a whole lot of ladies doing the same thing. Miss Misanthropist, I like her. She does the same thing, but I imagine I could get into the fray. But other than that, I'll get back into comedicism because that's what I made the channel for. Um, And this is something that I have had my mind on for a while now. I've seen it a few times in different forums and different settings when people are talking about Set. And I made mention before that I worship Set. Um, and it's not, well, usually it's not, I've never considered it a big deal to me. Like in my previous video, experiences with Set, there's a few people I've run across who are like, I worship Set, and it's sort of supposed to be a taboo thing, and, verboten, that sort of thing. But I've never seen it that way. But something that you do see a lot with other Kemetic pagans, um, they have a fear of invoking or worshiping Set. You see sometimes people saying, "Oh, I find him interesting, but I'm afraid that if I get too much of an interest or something, something's he's gonna come in and mess with my life, or I'd like to worship him, but I'm afraid that it'll be inviting chaos." Or some people are like, "I do worship him, but I just offer him stuff to placate him so he doesn't screw up things in my life." And it's like, when I see that sort of thing on a forum or any other sort of medium, it's just really, really funny to me because it's like I've been worshiping Set for, oh God, I can't even count. I mean, I've been pagan for about 7 years and specifically Kemetic for 6. And I would say that I've been worshiping Set for at least 5. At least. And I gotta just tell these people, it's like, don't be so afraid of Set. Um, so many people think that, if you invoke him or something in your life, that he's going to invite chaos into your life or something, because, of course, he's the gods of storm and the desert and chaos in general. But in my time of worshiping Set, and from my youth up until now, there is one absolute 100% truth that I have learned. It's this: chaos or misfortune, or whatever you'd like to call it, will be a part of your life whether you work with Set or not. And some people are like, what? But you kind of think about it. It's like, whether or not you're Kemetic or Christian or pagan or atheist or Buddhist or anything like that, bad things happen to good people. Um, Chaos, is introduced into everyone's lives. Um, I was in AmeriCorps when I was, like around 2012, 2013. Um, and during this one particular training, it's called SERVES, where the AmeriCorps folks go, and it's almost like a convention in Yakima, where I was, because it's Washington State. And one of the things that they introduced um, in some of the classes is the Buddhist idea of impermanence, whereas everything is changing, everything is in flux, and you can never count on something being there permanently. One of the guys who was teaching one of the things, I forget, he was talking about this guy he knew who had a very lovely goblet, and he's like, well, I know someday that this goblet's going to break. I can do everything I can do to protect it or keep it safe, but one of these days it's going to break. But I realize, because of its impermanence, because of its transiency, I feel it precious all the more. And that really struck a chord with me, because at the time, um, well, even before then, I have dealt with depression since I was in college, and even before then, when I tried joining the Army Reserve, and there was always that idea or that fear that something bad was going to happen to me, or that the depression was going to come back. I would have another depressive episode, that sort of thing. And it made me kind of realize that no matter how much I do, or how much I fear, or how much I feel anxious about that sort of thing, bad things are going to happen. And there's so much you can do to mitigate that, but it'll come back no matter what you do. And I've left a few links about the Buddhist idea of impermanence. There are some things that jive with Kemeticism, and some things that don't really, because the ancient Egyptians had certain ideas of what is eternal, like the deities and whatnot. But obviously, the Buddhists had a different idea. But I encourage you to look at them, because they invited a certain perspective that has really helped me throughout the years. And another one is our Christian answers to the problem of evil. The problem of just suffering, and why any god or deity would allow that sort of thing. This particular site that I found is from William Lane Craig, and I used to really like him for a long time, but um, a lot of the answers in that particular website don't really um, apply to Kemetics or pagans in general. But I do think that there are some useful answers there. So, look through it, see what you can find. But overall, in my personal experience, bad stuff has happened to me. All sorts of things. Loss, being fired from work, um, bad grades, what have you. But, considering like before and after I started working with Set, I wouldn't say that there's any discernible difference during my lifetime of what kind of crappy things have happened to me. So, it's like saying, yeah, yeah, crap has happened to me, but I don't think it's Set's fault. Like, I've invited Set into my life, but I don't think he's invited or he's necessarily caused any crap to happen to me. So, you don't have anything to fear when you come to like invoking Set or worshiping Set or anything like that. And I don't think you have anything to worry about if like you don't, like if you skip a ritual or something. He's not going to come down on you and like, kill your car's engine or something if you don't do what he wants you to do or something like that. But one big difference that I have noticed definitely after working with Set for a while is that I have become more resilient to, just misfortune and chaos in my life. Because I understand now, after so long, that it can be mitigated by preparation. Like natural disasters, you can, stockpile food or water, or you can learn first aid, or survival in the wilderness, or different things like that. But it can't be eliminated. I mean, you can prepare all the while for the worst thing, but when that earthquake happens, or when that disaster happens, when the flu pandemic happens, are you going to have all your ducks in a row? No, you never will. Um, and that leads on to the next thing. It's like that I've learned is like being fearful or anxious won't avert problems. Um, and pretty much are what they are. I mean, if something bad happens in your life, I mean, you're not for a lot of pagans, it's like, what? But you're not psychic, for a lot of folks, they can't predict the future. They're not precognitive. And even people who kind of are precognitive or can claim that, they're not 100% infallible. So, stuff happens and you can't change the past and things are what they are. If something happens, just, accept it for what it is. Don't blame people. Don't um say why God, why me? It's like, well, was there anything that I could have done to mitigate this or eliminate it? And how can I use that knowledge in the future? And what can I do to mitigate it now, or what can I do to eliminate it now? Because that engine won't fix itself or something like that. Or like if you got fired from a job, well, what did I do wrong? And if you didn't do something wrong, well, is there any kind of legal recourse that I have? Or how can I avoid this sort of thing in the future? That sort of thing. And above all, don't panic, because that's the worst thing that can happen. If you just go off the deep end and just, you know, do something that you're going to regret, it's not going to help the problem. It'll probably exacerbate it. And I know this for a fact. I won't go into it, but trust me, I know. So I'll include links on the stuff that I was talking about, like impermanence and the problem of evil. But I invite others to talk about how they deal with misfortune and chaos in their lives. Maybe you don't invoke Set or anything like that. But that's sort of the one of the things that I do. Because I mentioned before in some of my other posts, Set is one of the deities who helped me rise the storm. And I fully endorse that sort of notion, because he is not a deity who tries to cause like chaos and trickery to his followers. He tries to help them through that sort of thing, and that's the sort of thing that I have learned from his teachings. So if you'd like to discuss it, I am all ears, and I will be back soon, I hope. I'm trying to look for that one book for a new Kemetic plant series. I have that Kemetic herbal or Egyptian herbal. I'm trying to look for that book. And another person was like endorsing. It was like, "Oh, hey, can you talk about the differences between Kemeticism and a lot of the Western African religions or African traditional religions that you were talking about in your previous video, and why you don't think that they're so related?" So I was going to get into that too. So there's still stuff on the horizon. So I have that, and if you have any more suggestions or things you'd want to hear from me, let me know, and I will be back. Thank you, and Senepti.